Hello everybody, today we discuss diminished chord and secondary dominant. So just a quick recap of diminished chord substitution for the dominant chords. You need two conditions, so you need to make sure it's a 5-1 situation, and you also need to be able to find a leading tone in the diminished chord for that to be a successful diminished 7th chord substitution for a dominant chord. Okay, so let's take a look at secondary dominant real quick. We have a C major 7, a C major harmonized scale, so we are harmonizing everything in 7th, okay? And I've written down the secondary dominant for each chord here as well. And for the first chord, the G7 is a primary dominant, okay? We also learned that from the extended chord section, okay? We can add tensions such as, from the altered chord section, you can add tensions like flat 9, okay, and we'll be sticking with flat 9. From that section, we learned that G7, flat 9, G7, they are pretty much the same thing, but G7, flat 9 is simply a fancier version of G7. It has more tension, and that would increase the urge to resolve to one chord. So you can think of G7, flat 9 as just the same as G7 itself, but a little bit more, with a little bit more tension, okay? So I'm going to add flat 9 to every chord. Okay, so earlier in this section, we know that we can actually substitute a G7 flat 9 with a diminished 7 chord. And the formula is very simple. You go to the third of this chord, and you would construct a diminished 7 chord on it. So that's B, diminished 7th, okay? And I should say, okay, the arrow is fine, I think, as long as you're following. C sharp, diminished 7, right? D sharp, diminished 7. E, diminished 7. F sharp, diminished 7. G sharp, diminished 7th. Alright, so here we have fulfilled the two conditions. So we have the 5-1 situation here for each secondary dominant chord situation. Okay, and we also have the leading tone in the diminished chord. So if you check it out, B is the leading tone of C major, okay, C sharp of D, D sharp of E, E of F, F sharp of G, G sharp of A. Okay, so let me clean up this a little bit. So instead of having a secondary dominant, you can actually have it diminished going directly to the diatonic chord. So this one would be much cleaner here. Okay. Okay, so here, instead of having secondary dominance, you can have a diminished chord going into the temporary 1 chord. Okay, cool. And these 7th chords would be analyzed as such. So this guy is the 7, diminished 7th of 1. And this one is the diminished 7, is a major 7, diminished 7th of 2. The 2 refers to the D minor 7 chord here, and the 7, diminished 7, refers to the C sharp. So C sharp is the leading tone, so you always get a 7 here, and it's a diminished chord, so hence this part. Okay, D sharp, diminished 7th, so that should be so 7, diminished 7 of 3. Okay, and then this one is 7, diminished 7 of 4. And the F sharp here is the 7, diminished 7 of 5. And finally, this is the 7, diminished 7th of 6. All right, cool. So that's a variation on the secondary dominance. So instead of using dominant chords, you can use a diminished chord instead, and that would yield a flat 9, dominant flat 9 sound. All right, cool. Hopefully everything makes sense. I would see you in the next video. Okay.